All right, I want you to just picture a scenario for me.
Okay.
It's one that I think pretty much every single person listening
Hmm.
has felt at some point. You've spent weeks, maybe months, studying something.
Yeah.
You've got the flashcards, you've got the apps,
You've watched all the video.
all the videos.
Yeah.
In the safety of your own room, you are a master. You know the vocabulary, you know the theory.
Armchair expert phase. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You feel completely ready. But then the moment comes to actually use that skill in the real world. Maybe it's speaking a new language, maybe it's explaining something to your boss, and just silence.
Mm.
Your brain just empties out.
The freeze. It's like the tip of the tongue feeling, but weaponized by anxiety.
It is the absolute worst because it's not that you don't know it, it's that you can't get to it.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what we are unpacking today. We are doing a deep dive into a narrative case study called The Quiet Power of Reading.
And I am really excited about this one because, on the surface, it looks like a simple, kind of heartwarming story about a girl learning English. But if you actually peel back the layers, which is what we're here to do, it is a surprisingly sophisticated blueprint for overcoming performance anxiety.
It's a strategy guide disguised as a story.
Precisely. We're going to look at the specific methodology hidden in this text. We're going to analyze that transition from passive knowledge, the stuff that's locked in your head, to active confidence. And the solution it proposes is, well, it's a bit counterintuitive.
It really is. I mean, if you want to get better at speaking, the source suggests you should maybe stop trying to speak so much. It's just pivoting to something much, much quieter.
Mm-hmm.
So let's set the scene. Tell us about our protagonist, Aliana.
Okay, so Aliana is our subject. She lives in a small town, but her work environment is fewer. It's really critical to understanding her struggle. She works in a bakery, specifically one right near a train station.
Okay, stop right there. Bakery near a station. That sounds so idyllic, right? Smell bread, tea, cakes. But from a work perspective, that is chaos.
It's high-velocity chaos, people rushing for trains, they want their service immediately, and the text specifically notes that a lot of these visitors, they speak English.
So theoretically, this is the dream scenario. You always hear people say, oh, if you want to learn a language, just go immerse yourself, get a job where you have to speak it.
Right.
Aliana is literally living that advice. She's completely immersed.
She's immersed, but she's drowning. And this brings us right to the core conflict of the source. It says, pretty explicitly, Aliana wanted to learn English. And it clarifies, she knew many words.
She had the data.
She had the data. But then comes this just devastating line. Her voice became small.
Her voice became small. I just want to linger on that for a second. It's such a visceral way to describe what happens when confidence just evaporates.
It is.
It's not just that she's quiet. It feels like she's physically shrinking.
It's a physiological response. Think about that environment again. You're behind a counter. There's a line of people staring. The clock is ticking because the train is coming. That is a high cortisol environment.
It's pure fight or flight.
Exactly. And when your brain is in fight or flight, the last thing it cares about is, proper grammar or retrieving some fancy vocabulary word. It just wants to survive the interaction.
So she knows the words, but they're locked behind this wall of stress.
Right. The text says she knew many words, but they did not come out.
So she's stuck in this awful loop, tries to speak, freezes, voice gets small, feels bad, and then it repeats. And she has a self-diagnosis for this, right?
She does. And it's the same one most of us make. She tells a customer, I learn words, then I forget. She thinks it's a hardware problem, like her memory's just broken.
Oh, that's so relatable. I'm just not good at languages. I have a bad memory. We always internalize the failure as some kind of personal flaw.
But the source introduces a catalyst here, a character who just changes everything, a regular customer named Mr. Hall.
Mr. Hall, the mentor figure.
And he's a retired teacher. This is important because he has that teacher's eye. He observes her. He doesn't just see a shy girl. He sees a student who's stuck. He says to her, I can see you want to improve your English.
He validates the intent. He sees the effort under the silence.
And when Aliana gives him her diagnosis, I learn words, then I forget. He just doesn't accept it. He doesn't give her a memory trick or tell her to download an app. He pivots to a completely different skill.
He tells her to read.
Reading is a strong habit. That's his whole pitch.
Okay, but let's play devil's advocate. If I came to you and said, I'm terrified of public speaking, I freeze up on stage, and you handed me a book and said, go read silently in a corner, I'd think you were brushing me off.
Oh, for sure. And Aliana is skeptical too.
Hmm.
She asks him, how can reading help me speak?
It's the million-dollar question.
It is. And Mr. Hall's answer is really the theoretical backbone for this entire deep dive. This is where we get into the mechanics of the mind. He breaks down why reading fixes the speaking problem.
Okay, so let's unpack his argument. What are the specific mechanisms he says are at play?
He outlines 3 distinct benefits that reading offers, which the bakery absolutely does not. The first is repetition, but it's a specific kind of repetition. He says you meet the same words again and again.
But not in a drilling way, not like writing lines on a chalkboard.
It's organic, it's natural. You see a word in paragraph 1, then you see it again in paragraph 5, then again in the next chapter. You are seeing the word live in its natural habitat.
Okay, repetition is number 1. What's number 2?
Pattern recognition. He tells her, you see how sentences are made? This is huge. When you're just memorizing vocab lists, you're holding individual bricks. You have a pile of bricks, but you don't know how to build a wall.
Reading shows you the wall.
It shows you the architecture. You see the adjective goes here, the verb goes there. You absorb the blueprint without even trying.
You stop thinking about the rules and just start to feel the rhythm.
Exactly. But the third point is the most critical for Aliana's specific problem with that small voice.
This must be the stress factor.
It is. Mr. Hall says your brain learns patterns without stress.
Without stress. Okay, that's the key variable.
It is. Compare the bakery to a book. In the bakery, the customer's waiting, the pressure is on. In a book has nowhere to go. It just waits for you. If you need 10 minutes to figure out a sentence, the book doesn't judge you.
It's a safe harbor.
It's a simulation. Mr. Hall calls it training for the mind. Think of it like a flight simulator for pilots. You don't learn to handle an engine failure for the first time with 300 passengers on board.
Right.
You do it in the simulator where you can crash without consequence.
Reading is the flight simulator. The bakery is the actual flight.
Yeah.
And Aliana's been trying to fly the plane without logging any hours in the sim.
That is a perfect analogy. She's been trying to perform before she's really practiced. And because the stakes are so high at the bakery, her brain just shuts down the learning centers to focus on survival.
But this is where it gets tricky, because Aliana pushes back on him again. She says, I tried reading before, but the book was too hard. I stopped.
And this is the second biggest hurdle, isn't it? First, the fear of speaking. Second, the trauma of bad reading experiences.
We've all been there. You get ambitious, you buy a novel in the language you're learning, you open the first page, and it's like hieroglyphics. You feel stupid and you quit.
And Mr. Hall completely validates this. He doesn't tell her to, push through the pain. He says, that happens. The level must be right.
He introduces the Goldilocks zone.
He creates a spectrum. On one end, too difficult. The result, tiredness, brain fog. On the other end, too easy. The result, boredom. You're not learning.
You need that sweet spot in the middle. But usually people just say find your level and kind of leave it at that.
Yeah.
What I loved here is that Mr. Hall gives her a specific algorithm to find that spot.
He does. It's the one-page rule.
I love a good rule. Break this down for us, because this is something anyone listening can use today.
It's deceptively simple. He tells her to pick up a book and read exactly one page. Just one.
Okay.
And here's the condition. If you understand most of it without a dictionary, it is a good level.
I want to double-click on 2 things there. First, without a dictionary. That feels aggressive for a learner. I feel like if I don't know a word, I have to look it up.
That compulsion is actually the trap. If you're stopping to look up every third word, you're breaking the flow. You're switching your brain from story mode to analysis mode. You destroy the pattern recognition.
So you're decoding, not reading.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mr. Hall wants her to flow. And that leads to the second point. Understand most of it.
Not all of it.
No. If you understand 100%, you're comfortable, but you're not growing. If you understand 50%, you're just lost. But if you understand most, let's say 80 or 90%, you have enough context to guess the meaning of the rest.
Inference.
Inference is where the real learning happens. That moment where you say, okay, I don't know this word, but based on the sentence, it must mean something like to run. That's your brain building a connection. That is sticky learning.
So armed with this algorithm, the one-page rule, Aliana decides to give it another shot.
She goes to the library the very next day.
Which shows she's motivated. She just needed a better roadmap.
She finds the section for learners, and she picks a specific book. The source tells us she chose an A2 level story called The Missing Key.
A2 level. So for anyone who doesn't know the scale, that's like upper beginner. Simple sentences, a pretty linear story. It's not Shakespeare.
Definitely not Shakespeare. But it passes the one-page test. She understands most of it without a dictionary.
So let's look at the case study in action. She sits down. Walk us through her process. Does she, like, binge read the whole thing?
No, and this is so crucial for making it a sustainable habit. She reads for just 10 minutes.
10 minutes? That's so approachable.
It's a micro habit, and the text emphasizes her pacing. She read slowly. Contrast that with the bakery again. The bakery is fast, urgent, loud. The library is slow, quiet, deliberate. She's finally controlling the pace of the input.
And what's the result of this 10-minute session?
She understood the idea, and the text describes her feeling with one really powerful word: relief.
Relief. Not euphoria, not I'm a genius, but just relief.
It's the absence of the small voice. It's that realization that, oh, this language isn't an impenetrable fortress. I just needed a door that was the right size for me.
Now, she does do a little bit of active work. It's not totally passive. She uses what I'm calling the notebook technique.
Yes. And this is the bridge between just enjoying the story and actually retaining the information. She didn't stop for every word while she was reading. She respected the flow, but she did notice 3 words she didn't know.
The source lists them: borrow, quiet, and behind.
Simple, high-frequency words.
But she didn't know them. Or maybe she kind of recognized them, but wasn't 100% sure.
The text says she underlined them as new words. So she sees them, underlines them, and then only after she finishes her 10 minutes, she writes short meanings in a small notebook.
I want to look at those 3 words for a sec. Borrow, quiet, behind. In the context of a story called The Missing Key, I mean, those aren't random, are they?
No, and this validates Mr. Hall's point about context perfectly. You can imagine the scene just from those words. Someone is hiding behind a door. They have to be quiet. They are trying to borrow or maybe steal the key.
Right, and because those words are attached to a scene in her head, a little mystery, they stick.
It's episodic memory. She isn't memorizing behind as a preposition on a grammar chart. She's memorizing it as a plot point. The brain loves stories. It hates lists.
So she writes short meanings, keeps it manageable.
It's a self-contained success loop. She read, she understood, she mined 3 little nuggets of gold, and she felt relief.
Compare that to the failure loop at the bakery. I tried to speak. I froze. I felt shame.
The library is rebuilding her relationship with English. It's shifting it from an enemy that judges her to a puzzle she can solve quietly on her own terms.
And that brings us right back to the title, The Quiet Power of Reading.
It is quiet, it is internal, but that internal processing is what builds the engine for the external speaking. You can't output what you haven't put in.
So let's zoom out a bit. We've looked at the diagnosis, the mechanics, the case study. What does this all mean for you listening at home? Because we aren't all working in bakeries trying to learn English.
I think the universal takeaway here is about calibration and environment.
Calibration.
Yes. Mr. Hall didn't really teach Aliana English. He taught her how to calibrate the difficulty of her own task. She was trying to run a marathon, speaking to customers, before she could even walk. The library books, they let her walk.
And we so often have this no pain, no gain mentality. We think if we aren't suffering, we aren't really learning.
But Aliana's story proves the opposite. The suffering was blocking the learning. The power came from the low-stress environment. If you're constantly testing yourself, which is what speaking is, it's a test, you never give yourself time to actually acquire the skill.
So for anyone listening, think about where you are freezing. Where do you have that small voice?
And then ask yourself, are you trying to perform in the bakery before you've trained in the library?
That is the question. And I think the one-page rule is such a brilliant, actionable tool you can take away. Whether you're trying to read technical documentation for a new job, or maybe philosophy, or even learning to code.
Use the rule. Read 1 page of the documentation. Do you understand most of it? If you're looking up every other concept on Google, stop. It's not the right level. Step back. Find the A2 version of that material.
Right.
Build the pattern recognition first.
It's not giving up. It's being strategic.
It's strategic regression. You step back to move forward faster.
And walking feels good. That feeling of relief Aliana had that is sustainable. You can build a habit on relief. You cannot build a habit on panic. Panic just burns you out.
Panic is a finite resource. Curiosity and relief, they're renewable. 10 minutes a day, just like Aliana.
It's funny, the source doesn't end with Aliana giving some massive speech at the bakery.
Hmm.
There's no round of applause.
No, and I really appreciate that about the source. It's realistic. The small voice is probably still there, but the whole vibe has shifted. She has a notebook. She has a method. She knows that tomorrow she can go back to the library and learn 3 more words.
She has agency.
She has agency. She's no longer a victim of the language. She is a student of it.
And she's feeding that small voice words like borrow and behind, so eventually it'll get big enough to be heard over the noise of the train station.
Exactly.
So we're going to wrap it up there, but before we go, we always want to leave you with a final thought to mull over, a little provocation, if you will.
We've talked a lot about language, but Mr. Hall's core insight is that the brain learns patterns best without stress. It's a quiet practice.
So here is the question. If we applied this quiet, low-stakes practice to other high-pressure skills in our lives, negotiation, parenting, public speaking, how much faster would we actually learn?
What is the quiet reading equivalent for your career? What does the one-page rule look like for your life? If you can find your library, you might just find that the freezing stops.
Something to think about. Thanks for diving in with us.
Until next time.
Keep turning the pages.